This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
This portion of Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Hodges University, celebrating 25 years of educating Southwest Florida.
Welcome back, Southwest Florida. Kenneth Holley, also known throughout LaBelle as Pastor Holley, is a retired chief deputy at the Sheriff Department of Glades County, and we're so thrilled to have him here in the studio. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Good to be here.
All right, good. Glad to get you talking. Now, before we get started, I think that you are a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
You're correct with that.
Okay, now, we can't have these Qs coming up in here outdressing a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Now, what do you have to say to that, man?
This the preacher doing it to you today.
So you're dropping the preacher on me now.
Yeah.
All right, so Qs, we always, it's good. Man, the Qs, you guys really do some leadership things, though. I give you credit for that.
Very socially active.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're a pastor at a very well-respected church that I got a chance to go out and speak at, St. Matthew's in LaBelle.
Right.
How would you describe St. Matthew's?
It's a very small family-type church with a very strong biblical discipline, and we reach out to reach the least.
Mm-hmm. You, we're gonna go ahead and plug LaShiba now. LaShiba, I'm plugging you, who was responsible for getting me out there doing one of those Black History Month programs.
Right.
That's one of the things that in your church, you don't shy away from cultural things like Black History Month and celebrating the history of Black people and all that. You make sure you make that a part of the ministry?
Yeah, not only that, the healthcare issues, that's how LaShiba and I came together. We try to provide a total variety of services to our church wherever the needs fall. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to keep that alive.
Mm-hmm. The Black church, we're talking to you now after you just saw where we had what we consider terrorist attack on a Black church up in Charleston, South Carolina. The word terrorist, people have been saying, well, maybe it wasn't terrorism. What's your thoughts when you heard about that?
I think what we saw is symptomatic of a growing chasm between the races in our nation, because this young man was not born like that. That's a behavior he learned because of the things he said, okay? And Lee, you need to go back to home and remember the church
16th Street.
that was bombed with those little girls in there.
Birmingham.
So it's not dead. And I think it's incubating and coming back alive, and that's the thing that tears at the very fiber of American culture that we need to be concerned about.
And what was so interesting, it seems that once you start attacking the church, it seems like just America in general seemed to have a change of heart, the tone shifted a little bit, even with whatever the race was, is to speak to that.
You got to rethink your position on it, because when somebody would go to that level, because we have one God, and we all serve that one God. No matter how differently we serve Him, we still serve that one God. And therefore, when you attack a place that is holy, it lets you know that it's just completely out of control now. And we go through these periods in history where you see people that, for one reason or another, would like to fight against the establishment and fight against the progress that you've made in any kind of relation, and even in race relation, people want to fight against it because for some reason they appear to be the failures.
Now, with over 23 years of being involved directly, indirectly in the law enforcement capacity, you've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, a chief deputy, sheriff, fancy name, Black man, going all the way back to the 80s, I would guess. With a strong constitution in terms of your black pride. What we're seeing now in general, all of these things that have percolated up over the last 5 years, particularly when we've had video and all of this, would you say that this is something that has been going on for a long time, is just now finally coming to life?
I think with the new technology that we have, a lot of things that probably have been covered up in the past is now available. And it is blowing some of us off of our seats to believe that people would do the type of things that we do. One of the things that's really hurting us is what we call jury nullification, like the New York situation, a totally illegal hold that you cannot use by policy, and yet a man dies for a non-violent crime, no history of violence, and then the jury says not guilty, or the grand jury refuses to indict. What do you do then?
Now, when you're sitting there and you're looking at this on television, reading about it, with your background, you even have more knowledge than the layperson. Did you immediately think that, hey, he's not going to get off on this, or did your experience say they're going to get him off? He's not going to go to jail?
No, with that going public like it was an embarrassment to the New York Police Department, and I just thought they were going to go with it. But when you can't get a grand jury to indict, now, of course, when you're looking for a grand jury indictment, it's according to what information was provided to them. So sometimes it can be kind of one-sided. But I didn't just see the one that used the chokehold. I saw the rest of the officers like a pack of crazed animals attacking at that time, you know. And that's the problem within the culture. If we don't do anything in law enforcement to bring about the change, it won't happen.
And the other shooting that comes to mind is when the gentleman was running away, and a police officer just took out the gun while he was running away like a deer or something and started shooting and killed him. When you looking at that, what are you thinking, man?
I'm almost embarrassed to say that I was a law enforcement officer to see that somebody with that kind of behavior. But you got to remember, in every organization, you got a set of outlaws. And our problem in law enforcement is we've never wanted to police the outlaws until it gets so bad that it becomes embarrassing, and then we want to do something about it, you know.
Now, with you actually working in law enforcement, you were a part of sensitivity training, cultural training, diversity training, whatever the proper word is. You were a part of that. You saw these law enforcement officers getting this type of training. You may have administered some of this type of training, particularly as it relates to training white law enforcement officers. Do you think they took that seriously at the time, or it was just something that they just had to do to punch the get paid?
Some took it seriously. Some just wanted to get through. Matter of fact, I did some training at some other agencies in South Florida. And I was, the comments, because I tried to make the training as real as possible like it was when you came in, and that the guy said, man, I just thought it was going to be boring until we come in and we start talking about issues not only of race, but we talk about gender and we talk about nationality. We start talking about all those kind of things because it leads to what we call diversity. And without diversity in a law enforcement agency or any agency now, you can't exist when you look at how diversified America is. You're going to be running out there with a gun with no bullets in it.
Okay, now, I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, I'm looking at this and saying, hey, we have, the big movement is, okay, you need the police department to look like the community. We need Hispanic police officers, we need African-American police officers, Haitian, what have we. But from when I came in to be a part of the diversity training, you saw me there, it seems like once you get those law enforcement officers into the collective group that's a majority white, they assimilate into that and try to maintain and be a part of that team, and you don't really get that response to their culture when they get out into the public because they want to be a part of the team, and if they go too far away from that, they may get ostracized. Talk to me.
You just hit it on the head, because that's the problem. You're in there, you were brought in because of the fact that you were different, but then you want to leave that difference in you outside, and then you want to become a part of the group. And when you become a part of the group, then that means anything goes. And you know, you give up all of what made you what you are.
Okay, now, the solutions. Okay, you're retired now, you're sitting back looking, you see some of the things that are going on out there. I know this is a broad question, but I want to make sure I get this before I let you go. Let's talk solutions. If you were drawing it up right now to make law enforcement, particularly in the African American and Hispanic community, have a better relationship, what are some key things that needed to be hit on? 3 key things.
Key things is we need to stop being reactive and be more proactive. We need to maintain an ongoing relationship with our law enforcement administration, with the community. That has to be ongoing. That dialogue does not stop because things seem to have quieted down. Our neighborhood needs to look at what can we do as we present ourselves, because many of our young people today that we're dealing with have no respect for authority, Lee. And that creates a problem with a guy who comes in that thinks he has the authority because of the badge and the gun. So what you have is a clash between two cultures right from the get-go. And until law enforcement officers learn to listen more, and that's the emphasis that need to be put on in training now. Listen, because sometimes people just want to be heard.
When you were actually in law enforcement, last question, did you ever have to pull your weapon? Did you ever have to tase somebody? Did you have to get down and dirty, or were you able to talk and solve the problem?
Lee, I was never used a taser because I wasn't going to be tased, okay?
Okay.
And one of the things, you had to be tased in order to carry a taser that day, so no, I wasn't going to use no taser. But yes, I did have to draw my weapon on probably 3 times in 23 years. I only fired 1 time, and it was a life and death situation.
Okay.
And fortunately, I was a bad shot. I hit somebody's refrigerator. And it kept running.
Okay, well, man, I could talk to you all morning. I'm so thrilled to actually have you here on the show. I'm looking forward to getting you back in the future, and we can dig into this even more. But before we go, I wanted you to tell people, when can they come out and worship at St. Matthew's in LaBelle?
We have Wednesday evening Bible study that starts at like 6:30 on Wednesday, and then on Sunday morning we start at 10, and the actual service starts at about 11:15.
Okay, man, let's bump you out, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, you go back. Well, I'll tell you. So as the saying goes with this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those like Pastor Holley. He's the chief, but he came in here and just told it like it really was, as Malcolm X would say. Let's just tell it like it really is. We come back, the Teen Summit is on tap right here on Lee Pitts Live. We'll be right back.